power of natural medicine and conscious living. So listen up, America. It's the Adam Harman Show.
Oh, we are here. We are back, and you're listening to the Adam Harman Show here on KABC 790 AM. It's talk radio, the way you want to hear it. You know, on today's show, we're going to have a lot of great information. If you are driving right now, don't pick up a pencil. Remember, you can always listen to our show archived on KABC.com or go to theadamharmanshow.com, and you can listen to it later. But if you are actually in a wonderful position right now where you can pull out a pen and paper, or I'm old school, pen and paper, or you can pull out a computer with a Word document, you're going to want to, because this information is amazing. Our host today was a lecturer for many, many years, still is, to some top functional medicine doctors, and they used to call him writer's cramp. He doesn't know this, and I'm sure he's giggling on the line listening right now, because in the days of pen and paper, people would write so furiously to be able to capture his gems on paper that they would have to drop down their pens and paper and stretch their hands out because they got writer's cramp. You know, today's show, we're going to be talking about simple and straightforward ways to recapture your youthful vitality. You know, oftentimes, really small yet powerful changes in your diet, exercise, supplement regime, and the way you think can supercharge your energy and focus and strength. Today's guest knows all about that. He's Dr. Robert Rakowski. He is the clinical director of the Natural Medicine Center in Houston, Texas. In addition to running a very busy practice, Dr. Rakowski has lectured internationally for over 25 years on various topics in natural and lifestyle medicine. He has appeared on numerous television programs and international radio talk shows. He is a recognized expert in functional endocrinology and in-office diagnostic procedures to assess nutritional status. His clinical experience ranges from treating elite professional athletes to critically ill individuals with a wide variety of complex disorders. Dr. Robert Rakowski, it is a great pleasure to have you on the show.
You know, the pleasure is always mine. I get a kick every time I listen to you. You have the best introduction in the world. I know you've got the best material in the world, and I know you've learned from the best of the best. So it's always a joy to spend some time chatting with you.
Oh, my goodness gracious. We have got so much information to be able to cover here. We're not going to be able to cover it all. I know it. You know, in your many lectures to functional medicine doctors around the world, you've spoken of these 7 habits of extraordinarily healthy people, okay? Can you give us a quick rundown of this list of 7 that you think is really important?
Sure. They've also been called the Rakowski rights, but they're really all of our rights. So we want to eat right, drink right, think right, move right, sleep right, poop right, and talk right every single day.
Hallelujah. That is great. You know, unfortunately, we only have an hour-long show, so we'll only be able to cover 4 out of those 7 today, okay? Then we're going to have you back. Are you going to come back?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, and you'll be able to handle the other 3 sometime in the spring. Sound good?
I'm ready.
All righty, here we go. Let's start out this voyage of knowledge and adventure. All right, so let's start with eat right. Please, doctor, tell us more.
You know, and I'm actually going to give you a few quotes, and there are some gurus from all time, and one is a guy named Jack LaLanne who passed a few years ago. But he had a very simple statement, and I don't want to create any controversy or offend any of your listeners in any way, but here's what he said.
Okay.
He said, if God made it, it's okay. If man made it, don't touch it. So in other words, if it's all natural, that came from the good of the earth, from Mother Earth, then it's going to be okay. But once man messed with it, you know, it's not what it once was. And then there's a guy that People magazine has called one of the top 20 most influential people of all time.
Who?
His name is Michael Pollan. And Michael Pollan said this. He said, eat food, not too much, mostly plants. And so, and by the way, maybe not all time, but certainly of the year that said it. So I may have misquoted people, but nonetheless, Michael Pollan's a brilliant author, and he's got some really good pearls within that. So when he's talking about eating food, guess what? I'm going to assume that came from Mother Earth. Not too much, because we know now for it's coming up on about 85 years, a guy named Clive McKay won a Nobel Prize when he actually found the only proven fountain of youth, and that was calorie restriction. If we eat less, we actually live longer, and that's worked in every animal species tested. And then finally, mostly plants. Since we are at the top of the food chain, I'm going to use a technical term here. We are bioconcentrators. We don't live on dirt, air, and water, but we live on lower level plants and animals that do. The great news is that we are able to concentrate the nutrients.
Right.
But the sad fact is we also concentrate the toxins.
How
so when we get those plants, they don't concentrate the toxins to that same level. And in fact, they have so many incredible purifying benefits to our body.
Wow.
So we don't want to be exclusive plant because we are people that need animal products. B12 you cannot get from plants, but we want to eat those plants and alkalize our system and nourish ourselves to a great degree.
I've heard so much about that whole alkalizing situation. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I certainly can, and I think you'll lead me in the direction that your listeners will want to hear it. But every one of our processes in our body that makes energy is going to make acid. As I explain it to my patients, when oxygen goes into the cell, energy is made and carbon dioxide comes out. That actually forms an acid in our blood known as carbonic acid, and we literally are making that every moment of every single day. Some of the top journals actually suggest that we make about 15,000 units of acid a day. That's our baseline.
That's a lot of acid.
All of our elimination routes, which we'll get to when we get to poop right at some point, right? They eliminate acid. So that can be our bowel, our kidneys, our skin, our liver. All those things are going to, and lungs even, get rid of that acid.
Oh, my goodness gracious. There's a lot of acid going on there. So,
a lot of acid going on.
When it comes, I know you deal with a lot of elite athletes, but I think everybody out there wants to feel like they're in a high-performance position. What are some insights under this eat right, things that they should do and things that they shouldn't do in regards to eat right?
Well, I think what so many people are doing is actually eating processed foods, which have a lot of additives, a lot of preservatives, things that the body really wasn't meant to have. And there's actually some very sophisticated researchers that use terminology similar to this. Food in this country is engineered to be addictive. So they literally put compounds in these foods that make people want to go back again and again and again. So the body doesn't get the nutrition it needs, but it creates a craving for these foods which lead us in the wrong direction. And that's how we've gotten into such a nutritional mess. So we're going to pull people off of processed foods almost exclusively, anything in moderation, and even a little bit of processed food is not too bad. But most people are having it as predominance of their diet. And sadly, even some of the elite athletes have it almost exclusively of their diet. So as soon as we make those changes, we make some really favorable changes in their system, and their performance immediately responds.
That's great. There are so many diets out there, doctor. I mean, what do people do? You got paleo diets. You got the Mediterranean diet with all the research to it. You got the American Heart Association diet, which the latest research isn't showing that it's too good. What do people do with this diet information thrown at them? What would you recommend?
Well, you know what? It's pretty fascinating. So there is no one paleo diet. If we go back in time, was it paleo in Switzerland? Was it paleo in the Arctic? Was it paleo in the rainforest? Was it paleo with the Aborigines? So those were all very, very different diets. But I think a very good guideline is eat what your ancestors ate. So we have plenty of people in this country that are from the Mediterranean region. In fact, my ancestors came from there. So that type of diet would probably work reasonably well for me. But if you happen to come from Asia, that's a different diet. If you happen to come from Australia, a different diet. If you happen to come from the rainforest, different diet. So a good guideline is if your great-great-great-great-grandmother didn't eat it, you probably shouldn't either. So go with that.
That is so interesting. There's so many people out there who have issues in regards to the area of blood sugar imbalance. Like they eat something and then afterwards they go into like food coma. Can you give us some insights on how to help that out?
Yeah, sure. And so it's fascinating. I attended a lecture by a world-renowned endocrinologist, and she simply made an interesting statement. As man evolved over time, we actually had 5 hormones that would raise blood sugar. Those would include the stress hormones and glucagon and growth hormone, and only one that would oppose it, and that would or lower it, and that would be insulin. So we've got this gang up of hormones to raise blood sugar and only one to lower it. Well, when people eat a normal, natural, healthy diet, they have a fairly slow rise in blood sugar, and the body handles that very, very nicely. Mm-hmm. But when there's a spike in blood sugar, the body actually sees that as a threat because excess sugar in the system is actually pretty damaging. So insulin releases at an over amount, and it stuffs all that sugar into the cells quickly, and then the blood sugar drops, and guess what? The next thing you want with a blood sugar drop is more sugar to raise it.
Oh, my.
So the solution really is to eat complex whole foods that your body agrees with. And so some researchers have tried to come up with a food list that's universally perfect.
Doctor,
and I can tell you,
Doctor, we're going into a break here. This is great information. Are you going to hang in there with us and hang out for more segments?
You better believe it. I'll be ready when you are.
That sounds great. We're heading into a news break right now, so don't touch that dial. Okay. We'll be back with more of Dr. Robert Rakowski and the keys to vital health. Oh, we are back. You are listening to The Adam Harman Show on 790 AM, Talk Radio, KABC. You know, we're here again with Dr. Robert Rakowski on the habits of extraordinarily healthy people. Dr. Rakowski, thanks for staying with us.
Hey, you're welcome. It's great to be back again.
There you go. Hey, we've got so much ground to cover. My goodness gracious, we had to put the brakes on the last segment. It just was overflowing with knowledge and insight. Doctor, you know, we're at this point now. Whatever goes into your body must come out. So I guess it's time to talk about poop right. That's right, poop right. Please, doctor, tell us more about poop right.
All right, I want to actually tell a funny story because I actually gave a health lecture at NASA to a group of rocket scientists.
Ooh.
And literally a rocket scientist asked me exactly that question. How exactly do you poop right? Well, we can certainly
now
we can stay there on the bowels. Go for it.
All you need is a brain surgeon now. You need a brain surgeon and a rocket scientist. This sounds like the beginning of a really good story in a bar, all right? But I'm sorry for interrupting. Please, doctor, tell us more about poop right.
No.
Okay.
Well, people there were interested in the bowel, and I think a lot of your listeners will be as well, and we'll certainly touch on that. But I have to tell people that every single cell of our body eats, drinks, and goes to the bathroom. And we're literally by some estimates, as much as 100 trillion cells. So that's a lot of waste that certainly our blood has to deal with, our lymphatic system has to deal with, and that's kind of like a sewage system within the cells and body itself. But then our liver and kidney work together, and our lungs work together, and we sweat things out. The skin is a big detox organ, and then we've got actual bowel movements, right? And so what I like to tell people is that we're actually born with a reflex that says that we should eliminate nearly every time we eat, and it's called the gastrocolic reflex. And you'll see a bunch of kids, babies, right? They'll nurse, and then the next thing you know, you'll have to change their diaper. You'll nurse, they'll change their diaper. And that's really how we're intended to do it. We put something in our upper gut, and our lower gut says, hey, great, let me free up some space for this rest of the stuff to come on down. And so bowel function is a function of fiber. We need good fiber to add bulk to our stool. Water, it has to be hydrated. And people will notice, you know what, when sometimes they get rid of a lot of water, right, and probably too much when they have a loose stool, or the opposite of that can be true when they have challenges moving. So water is a really good way to ensure bowel function. And then there's the neurologic tone and strength of the bowel itself. And we have to learn early on that that's a reflex that we want to honor. There's a lot of people that are a little phobic about using a public restroom for bowel function, and they actually can cause themselves some pretty significant damage by, over time, suppressing too much.
Wow.
So that's actually something that my wife and I were actually pretty good about teaching our kids early on. If you have to go, let us know and we'll go. And your listeners might appreciate this funny story, but my son, I think he was 6, shopping in the mall. He's now 24, right? But he was shopping in the mall with my wife, and he kept wanting to go to the restroom. And it was really because he didn't want to shop. And then finally he asked her again, hey, I need to go to the restroom. And she said, Jacob, no, you don't. If you have to go, you need to hold it. And he just looked at her. He said, Mom, I have to poop. Think about how many toxins I'm absorbing. And
he did not fall far from that tree. Wow.
No. He learned that very, very early on. And, of course, Kelly laughed hysterically. And we still tell this story. But my kids understood that from the very beginning. And I would really like every patient, every listener to understand, hey, listen, we all do it. And if we honor our body, we get better at it. And realistically, there's things we can do. So it's not anything that's offensive to anybody. We just have to understand it.
It's really interesting because I believe that human beings and domesticated animals are the only beings on this planet that hold their poop. I guess, as you're saying it would lead to problems later on. Holding that poop too much, you might be sort of full of it, as one might say.
You have a great way of putting that. But the primary job of the lower bowel, the colon, is actually absorption. And so it's actually meant to absorb that water. And if it stays in there too long, not only are you getting water, but you're absorbing some things that you don't want to absorb. And so there's actually a connection. It's veins that lead. It's called the portal plexus from the bowel, the colon, to the liver, because the primary job of the liver before all these poisons in our environment was to detoxify the bowel. And now we've overburdened that system, and then that's part of our poop, right? We've overburdened that with so many toxins in our environment that people give in to being poisoned. And so as I've taught doctors all over the world for 25 plus years now, the symptoms of someone who suffers from chronic poisoning include fatigue, sleep disturbance, intestinal distress, allergy symptoms, headaches, confusion, and anxiety. And I've also said from the podium 25 years running, if we got rid of those symptoms, I would probably have to do something else because that's literally what everybody's walking into my door with, right? Those complaints are so common. And so detox, which certainly can start with bowel elimination, is a really good starting point for most people.
That's great. It's so interesting. I've wandered around there. I've been working with many, many doctors over the last 25 years, and I hear this statement where the doctor says, "Are you regular?" She says, "Yeah, I'm regular." She says, "Well, how often do you poop?" And she goes, "Once a week, regularly." I mean, it's crazy. How often should people poop?
Well, certainly every day, and preferably 2 to 3 times a day. So if we were honoring that gastrocolic reflex, we would go 2 or 3 times a day. But I can tell you In my 25 years of clinical practice, I might have 1 in 500 patients that go regularly about 3 times a day, where there's not a problem, where they don't have urgency or something going on in their intestines. It's just their normal rhythm. But most people don't have the appropriate diet with the right amount of fiber. They don't drink enough water. They don't honor their biologic process, and they get themselves in pretty significant trouble.
Hey, what are your thoughts about probiotics?
Oh, my gosh. They are essential to life. In the last 2 years, it is the most studied topic in all of the medical literature. So it's great to see that the world is catching on to that. But there are so many more bugs in our gut than there are cells in our body. It's estimated that it outnumbers 10 to 1. Now, again, every one of these bugs eats, drinks, and goes to the bathroom. So I tell my patients, good bugs literally eat our poop, and their poop is nutrients to us, things that actually nourish our body in a beautiful way. Bad bugs, however, eat our nutrients, and they poop poisons, things that really are harmful to our system.
Right. How can a person find a good probiotic? I mean, what do they look for in regards to probiotics?
Well, I'm going to be biased towards the company that I have used and lectured for a quarter century. Can I mention names?
Go ahead.
Okay, so the company is Metagenics, and they literally have a probiotic research department. And they basically look at the research. They say, here's what's real. They know what is very well validated. There's actually very specific strains of bugs. There can be an incredible variety. Someone might say, well, I heard this bug is great. Well, guess what? That category of bug might be great, but that strain that they're giving you is not good at all. You want the right strain. And then, of course, you want it in a supplement that can get through the digestive system, that'll withstand the shelf life and have proven health benefit. And that would go through a great functional medicine practitioner.
Great. That's
so
dynamite.
I'm very, very biased towards quality.
There we go. Well, as a good practitioner and a great leader in the field, we like to know your bias towards quality. Okay, so we've got about 3 minutes more in this segment. And since, all of our listeners have eaten right and pooped right, it's probably time to take a snooze. Can you tell about the next habit, sleep right?
In 3 minutes.
And give it to me in year 3. All right.
All right.
Unfortunately, this is radio. I've
quick.
listened to you, and I'll be very quick about this. I've listened to you and literally wished that you could have stayed for 24 hours speaking. All right, because the information is great. So we're gonna do 2 minutes and 45 seconds. And go sleep right.
All right, beautiful. Well, you ought to basically have a routine. You ought to go to bed where you fall asleep shortly after your head hits the pillow. You sleep deeply through the night, and you wake up refreshed. So it's literally been estimated before the advent of the electric bulb, people probably slept an average of 8.5 to up to 10 hours a night. Now the average American sleeps about 6.75 hours.
Wow.
And believe it or not, it's actually artificial light, and especially computer screens and smartphones that have almost like a bluish tint to the light. And that's actually known to disrupt the normal body sleep chemical known as melatonin. So you want to have an I call it electronic sunset. When the sun goes down, get rid of the television monitors, get rid of the smartphone screen. You're actually better off having a light in your home that has a softer hue, a yellowish hue, or even an orange or red, because humans essentially evolved near firelight, and that's very friendly to melatonin. But you also want a cool, quiet, dark room that also supports ideal sleep. And you want to get into a rhythm, because we like rhythm. Our body does really well with that.
Yeah.
Where you sleep at a consistent time, sleep through, wake up refreshed, always honoring the body. And there, of course, can be some variability. If you have a day of heavy exercise, it's likely that your body needs more sleep that following day. So if you're dealing with some type of excessive stressor or maybe even an illness, you want to honor your body with more sleep. So when we look at our busy world, reality is most of us don't have much influence on our start time. People have a regular time that they need to start their job, but they can control their ending time. So I certainly am a big fan of early to bed, early to rise. That's the easiest to control. And honor your body with deep, nourishing sleep in every single way. I am a fan of supplementing melatonin at bedtime, calming herbs. There's things like valerian and passion flower and lemon balm and hops and certain forms of magnesium, especially something like magnesium taurate. That might be too technical for some people, but it's very, very good at helping people get into that nourishing sleep.
You know, this is all amazing information. We're going to be coming back talking about Drink Right. I find that area so interesting. So stay with us, folks. After this short break, we'll be back again with more of Dr. Robert Rakowski. Ooh, I'm feeling it. We are back, and you are listening to The Adam Harman Show on Talk Radio 790 AM KABC. And we're here again with Dr. Robert Rakowski on the habits of extraordinarily healthy people. Doctor, so good to have you back again.
Again, it's a joy. Love every moment of this.
God bless. Hey, you know, the fourth habit that you spoke of was to drink right, okay? Can you tell our listeners a bit about what you mean by that?
Yeah, so just as a simple explanation of how all this works, literally our planet is about 2/3 water. Our body is about 2/3 water, and about 2/3 of that water should be inside of our cells. We know that with just as little as 1% loss of water within the body, it actually starts to affect the brain, which, interestingly enough, is the most hydrated organ that we have. So literally, we need that water. We need to replenish that water on a daily basis. Now, there's certainly ways you can get it. You don't have to get pure water, but certainly you want water as the base with things that may have nutrition. So when I teach doctors and patients around the world, I like to let them know that people do make choices. They can drink straight water, they can drink coffee, they can drink tea, they can drink milk, they can drink soft drinks, they can drink alcohol. And we literally go through the pros, and there are plenty of pros to most of those, and the cons. And the cons come in at things like the soft drinks and, believe it or not, too much alcohol. Because alcohol is one of those funny things where if people drink a little, they actually live longer statistically than people that don't drink anything. But certainly people who drink the most die the earliest. So the sweet spot typically is 1 drink of alcohol per day, not to exceed that for a woman, 2 for a man. But if a woman has extreme risk of breast cancer, guess what? She shouldn't have any. If a man has an extreme risk of prostate cancer, he shouldn't have any.
My goodness, my goodness. You know, as we know, Doctor, and this is always a question that people ask me out there, one of the most popular beverages in the Western Hemisphere is coffee, okay? So can you give us the lowdown? Is it good for you? Is it bad for you? I mean, give us the real facts about this, if you could.
Well, the real fact is good coffee is good and bad coffee is bad. So the literature has been really, really good. By the way, good coffee, I'd like to go with certainly an organic source wherever possible. You want to use clean water. And then you don't want to, I'll call it, contaminate it with so many things that people put in it. I used to have a massive Starbucks habit. And at times I would just humor myself and show up at Starbucks and just watch what people ordered. And there'd be days that I might be one of 30 people in line, but I was the only guy that got a coffee. Everybody else was getting some type of sugary, caramely, chocolatey drink that the benefits of the coffee were extremely hindered by the extra sugar and other things that they put in it. But there was a massive study that was published in the New England Journal of Medicine. I think it was the biggest of all time. It was over, they called it 5 million people follow-up years.
Wow.
So they followed a massive group of people over a long period of time. And here's what they found. People that drank the most coffee lived the longest. Now, interestingly enough, in that study, they didn't say whether they were putting anything in that coffee, but coffee literally is a perfectly good herb. And some people may find that the point where people had the greatest benefit was at about 6 cups a day. And that was also then replicated in the American Heart Journal as well.
Wow.
So it's pretty well validated that coffee has nutrition. I like to tell people that when you add coffee and tea to water, you actually make it more enriched with nutrition. And that's certainly going to be the goal for everything we put in our body. But you start adding some of the things we don't want to add in there, tons of sugar, whatever type of artificial flavors they have, then they start taking down the benefit.
Oh, my goodness. Doctor, I've had many conversations with you on this subject as well. You discovered a new form of coffee that not only tastes good, but it's actually good for you. Can you tell us about it?
Yeah. And so I become a student of nearly everything that I do. But literally, people started adding healthy things to coffee around the 12th century, and I found that fascinating. But I have a coffee that I've actually invested in the company, so full disclosure on there.
Okay.
But literally, it's infused with the top superfood on the planet. So literally, that term goes by, like the superfood goes by the name Ganoderma or reishi or even the name lingqi. But basically, it is a plant that has all of the major nutrients, in fact, all the fabulous 50, all the vitamins, minerals, amino acids, proteins, carbohydrates, fat, fiber, and water, but it also has so many powerful plant nutrients, nearly 200 that have been identified, that so far have led to over 2,000 peer-reviewed medical studies for having incredible benefit on human health.
Wow.
And so I figure if someone's going to do something anyways, why not make a better choice? And so I've shared it with literally thousands of people, and across the board, people notice a nice difference.
When you say notice a difference, I mean, how are they using this coffee? Most people stand there, and personally, I love a good cup of coffee. And to be quite honest, full disclosure, I love the coffee you're talking about. And actually, I've had quite a few cups of that in the past as well. Really tastes great. But most people just get up in the morning and it's just something to jolt them. I mean, what other benefits does this have to human health? What are they going to feel?
Sure. So the herb within it is the most alkaline herb on planet Earth. So literally, when they put it in their body, most coffee is acidic. And in fact, there's a lot of people that report acid reflux. About 75% of people that have acid reflux report coffee as being a really aggravating agent. So they eliminate coffee because they don't tolerate it, or they take horrible drugs that create a problem in the long term. The vast majority of these people, within their first cup of this alkaline coffee, feel the difference. Their gut is a lot calmer. It actually has a calming effect. So caffeine is a natural pick-me-up, and there's some healthy benefit to it. But this herb has things that promote calming brain and body chemistry, so people don't get the jitters. They don't get a rapid surge of energy and a crash. They get a very, very smooth flow. The vast majority of people can drink this coffee all the way up to bedtime because of the calming effects and still sleep really nice and deep. Although that is the thing that I always tell people, look, you need to know your own tolerance. I'm a big coffee fan, have been for my entire adult life. I used to have to quit normal coffee by noon or it would interfere with my sleeping. This one I can take till about 5 p.m. very, very comfortably. And I am the early to bed, early to rise guy. So about 8:30, I'm winding down. And no disturbance with that lead time.
It almost sounds
smooth
like
energy.
Yeah. It's interesting. It almost seems like it's a cup of coffee and a multi at the same time.
Yeah, in a lot of ways it is. So, I'm certainly going to be a big fan of people getting a high quality multi. And there's many things. They still need their probiotics. You already mentioned that. I think people will benefit from a vitamin D, but they will enhance their nutritional well-being with this. And also has powerful, immune supporting activity. So it's literally known to increase the cells of the body that kill viral infected cells and cancer cells, and those cells are called natural killer cells. And those are literally peer-reviewed medical studies. So we used to have people that would have, for instance, fever blisters, herpes outbreaks, and there's over 200 strains of the herpes virus. But literally, when they start drinking this coffee, no more herpes outbreaks.
Wow.
And
wow.
That can be phenomenal.
That's great. Hey, you know something? We've got 3 more minutes left in this segment here. Can you tell our listeners how this coffee has improved more than just the physical health of you and your patients, and how people can take advantage of this coffee and the opportunity that this coffee holds?
Sure. So literally, this is a company that can be relatively easily partnered with. And so I've created a lot of business partners across the world. I think you said it was okay for me to mention my website. Is that correct?
Yes, please.
So simple website, bettercoffeeshop.com. And that will give you some direct information on the coffee, and we can certainly get people some samples. And I also have a website for my clinic, thedrbob.com, and that's a way to get directly in touch with me for people who have questions. But literally, we have been able to help a lot of people not only take their health to a brand new level, but the great news is people that decided that they wanted to build a business, coffee is now the number one commodity on planet Earth. Just 2 years ago, it passed oil. And so there's a massive market. It's actually estimated that the world consumes nearly 1 trillion cups of coffee every 2 years. And that's an absolutely mega number. So if you can share healthy coffee with people, if you're interested in that, then it's a great way to supplement your wealth. And certainly every sip, I like to tell my patients, is going to make your body healthier.
That's really, really great. And we like to be able to have entrepreneurs and professionals such as yourself on the air, because spreading the word about health and wealth and abundance and being able to do it in one swipe, like this coffee has helped so many with, is really what this show is about, to help people grow, gain that abundance, and get out there. Can you give us one more time the 2 websites?
Sure. Bettercoffeeshop.com, just like it sounds.
Okay.
3 words all blended together, or thedrbob.com. And you know what, I have to tell you, you've been such a phenomenal advocate for health for the quarter of a century that I've known you. And it's just great to see that your message is reaching so many more people, because you just have a unique delivery system that's unmatched. So I'm absolutely honored to be your guest.
Oh, my goodness. You know, Dr. Robert Rakowski has been a major leader in this field that we call functional medicine. He literally has guided so many practitioners to help them to provide this beautiful patient-centered approach, which is functional medicine. I've literally sat down with over 1,000 doctors over the last 25 years, and they always constantly say, when is Dr. Rakowski coming to my area to lecture? So I am so honored to have you here. Dr. Rakowski, thank you so much for being our guest today on The Adam Harman Show. We still have 3 habits of extraordinary healthy people that we're going to handle at a later show. Can we get you back? So we're going to get you back here, right?
Oh, absolutely. In
Oh,
fact,
my goodness.
I certainly hope more than once. I love your message, and certainly I resonate with the way you deliver it.
Great, great. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Robert Rakowski. All right, folks, we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to have a magical and mystical guest here on The Adam Harman Show.
For the past 25 years, Dr. Robert Rakowski has been one of the most respected names in the field of functional medicine. He's lectured at many prestigious universities and trained thousands of healthcare providers in natural medicine on behalf of numerous health-related companies, including Metagenics, one of the most trusted manufacturers of supplements sold through healthcare providers. Over the years, Dr. Rakowski has always stayed on the cutting edge of science, constantly looking for the next breakthrough discovery in the field of nutrition. So, here it is. Imagine coffee that's actually good for you. Coffee that tastes great, that's not acidic, rich in antioxidants, and fortified with a phytobotanical that's been proven to nutritionally support your immune system. Tens of thousands of Dr. Rakowski's patients and followers are enjoying guilt-free, super healthy, and delicious coffee every day. If you love coffee, you owe it to yourself to go to www.bettercoffeeshop.com, and when you get there, click the Join Now button to find out how you can get this amazing coffee at wholesale prices. That's www.bettercoffeeshop.com. Now, that's good coffee. Check it out today.
Ooh, we are back. And you're listening to The Adam Harman Show on Talk Radio, 790 AM KABC. Oh, there's something going on in the studio. Wayman, Wayman, is it that time again?
I believe it's that time again, Doc.
Oh, my goodness gracious. Well, then, it's time for...
The fabulous Dovey Leroy, Cosmic Astrologer.
Oh, I'm feeling so cosmic. It is your time to profess your wisdom upon us all.
My wisdom.
Your wisdom.
Yes. So much happening in the cosmos.
There we go. Tell me about Mars. Is there something happening with Mars?
Yes, Mars. Oh, the dominant. Okay, so on January 7th, we have Mars conjuncting Jupiter in Scorpio. And this gives our choices a profound power. It's an ideal time to start anything that requires energy and initiative. But overconfidence or overexuberance has the potential to get you in trouble with, say, gambling or partying or any of those extra energies. So this is really a time to not get egotistical, but confidence is surrounding what you decide to bring forward.
So basically speaking, if you were partying on New Year's Eve and you're still partying now, you're going to have an issue.
You might have an issue.
You might have an issue with more than just the stars. You may have an issue with your body as well. Okay. So, hey, there's this thing going on about Mercury entering Capricorn.
Yes.
What's going on with that?
That means that we have no more Mercury retrograde shadow period.
Woohoo.
Woohoo.
Say goodbye to the shadow.
Exactly.
The shadow knows.
It does know.
It does.
It follows.
Yeah.
But this is when we learn how to organize our brain for better productivity. You can get a little frustrated, though, if too much information is thrown at you at once. Yes, your mind is very calibrated during this time.
Okay.
And this is a time where you put your money where your mouth is. And integrity in your thinking patterns are very high.
My wallet is very large. It's not fitting in my mouth. No, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Integrity is very high.
Yes.
As you were saying.
And during this time, our dialogue is going to be more goal-orientated. And it is about the way we think becoming structured and grounded. And things may seem more tangible during this time. So that's good.
That's a good thing. I like a little bit of tangibility. My goodness. So there's this thing about Mercury conjuncting with Saturn in Capricorn.
Yes,
did I get that one right?
Yes, you did. And this is a good time for doing things requiring concentration and, don't forget, patience. Concentration and patience. It's also a good time to set and write out long-term goals. And it's the time to try to find something to burn mental energy on, or you may fall more towards your mind dwelling on negativity. Yes. So ride the higher vibration of positive thinking and applying your brain to important tasks or even routine duties. So that would be clean your house, read a book, work on a project. Just do something mentally stimulating
Right.
so that you can work through the dead dwelling vibrations
We
that
don't
are there.
we don't want dead or dwelling
None
vibrations.
of that. We don't want
You know,
that.
I don't like death in my dwelling whatsoever.
I'd rather be alone. No.
I want to be alone. Oh, so silly are we today, Dovey Leroy? And let me ask you a question here. Was there one more thing you wanted to mention?
Well, it wasn't really that I wanted to mention. I just wanted to give a little bit of advice.
Oh, please give that advice.
So this is the time that your goals are going to be more compartmentalized and you will be surrounded with confidence.
Ooh.
So if you just stay concentrated on your goals, it can reduce any allergens. It can help benefit you during this time.
Well, that is advice well taken.
Aw.
I will take your advice,
Take it.
stick it in my pocket, pull it out every once in a while. I will refer to it. I will honor it. Hold it close to my heart. Debbie Leroy, it's always great to have you on
Aw.
at the Adam Harman Show. How can people contact you for a natal chart or whatever services you have available on there as a fabulous astrologer?
Yes, you can contact me through www.DoveyLeroyAstrology.com.
Can you spell Dovey Leroy? I want to make sure we get this right.
DovieLeroy.
Astrology.
Astrology.com.
That's great. Dovey, thank you so much for coming on the show once again.
Anytime.
She is a regular here, and she's just a regular joy to the show and to our listeners. Right now, it's the Be the Change moment. And the Be the Change moment is very interesting because a wise man once said the following: if you want change in the world, then you should be the change that you want in the world first. And then the good things will happen afterwards. And I'm sure I'm paraphrasing here. But the bottom line is today we talked about changing habits for a happier and healthier you. But where do these habits live inside your head? And why are they so hard to change sometimes? The answers are actually simple. Habits live in your unconscious mind, and changing them requires you to live more in the conscious existence, in the here and now. Living in the present is the first step in recognizing these bad habits and turning them around. But in a world of anticipation that draws you into the future and regret, which dwells in the past, how is it possible to consistently remain present in the here and now? In my first book entitled Seeing the Angel in the Mirror, I took a group of 36 people through a unique process with the hope that it would allow them to access the proverbial power of now. Before starting the experiment, I had each of them fill out a standardized questionnaire to assess their current level of happiness and overall emotional well-being. The participants were handed small wire-bound notepads with the words past, present, and future written from left to right on the top of each one of the pages of that notebook. For the next 3 days, every time they had a negative thought, they were instructed to put a single check mark under one of those words to identify where that thought came from, the past, the present, or the future. At the end of this first stage, we tallied everyone's negative thoughts and discovered that over 90% of them came from thinking about the past and the future, and less than 10% of them came from thoughts in the moment, thoughts in the now. After revealing this information, everyone in the group was curious to see if remaining in the present moment would deliver them to a state of bliss or just leave them in the same emotional state that they started in. So what did we do then? Well, we introduced them to a proven technique to constantly bring them back to the present when their minds began to wander into negativity. Every time they had a negative thought, they were instructed to check in with their senses by breathing through their noses until they smelled something, focusing on whatever the taste was in their mouth. It could be the bad breath from the morning. They want to focus on the taste. And lastly, stroking a small piece of velvet that each one of them got that they kept in their pockets. For the next 4 days, every negative thought was met with smell, taste, touch, smell, taste, touch, and smell, taste, touch, bringing them into the present moment awareness by focusing them on their senses. After this second phase of the experiment, they all filled out another emotional well-being assessment questionnaire. And long, we waited for the outcome of this, and we got the outcome we were looking for. On the average, the participants' well-being and happiness scores were nearly 4 times higher than before they started the experiment. We're talking about canned happiness here, folks. We're talking about a technique that really, really works. And for the majority of the participants, the response to negative thoughts became a habit that lasted for weeks and even months after the experiment. This technique is just one of dozens of strategies revealed in my book, Seeing the Angel in the Mirror. And when you really recognize the power and grace of your angelic soul, it's a truly awesome experience. Check out Seeing the Angel in the Mirror on Amazon.com, or you can purchase it at our website at theadamharmonshow.com. And at just $11.11, we're not getting rich, but we are enriching the hearts and minds of our listeners. Go check out Seeing the Angel in the Mirror. Check it out today. It's really such a blessing, and it was such a blessing to work together with the other people who collaborated to create it. Well, I think we're getting to the end here, It's time to wrap up things here at The Adam Harman Show. Make sure you tune in next Saturday at 5 p.m. when we'll be covering EMF radiation. Should you be afraid? Should you be very afraid? Well, until next time, all of us here at The Adam Harman Show would like to thank you for listening. And we hope that you have an extraordinarily healthy week.